We are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the CoinRock Show. We'll get going in a few moments here. Type in number one if you can hear me. We should be good to go. So let's push this out to the different groups. Let's have a look here. All right, good. Let's put this up here. We're a bit earlier show because we have a guest coming on in about 35 minutes. So we'll do a review of the news, have a look at the bubbles. We didn't get actually to finish the show yesterday. I mean, we did about an hour actually, but I had to hop on with the team. Got some very exciting updates. And for all you CoinRock OGs, welcome everyone. We have a lot of cool news coming up soon. What can I say? So number one, we have multiple projects, as you guys know, and we have news for all these different projects. We have in the next 24 hours, I would say, we have some news on the JeetBot side, bot updates. That's all I'll say now. So you'll need to be to check in tomorrow in the Telegram group to get the updates on that. It'll be a lot of fun. We have some updates for other projects too that will be shared in due time. So let's do for the next half hour or so, we'll do let's just push this out to the groups in the next half hour or so. For the next half hour or so, we will do a news review, and then we have Mati Greenspan, who will be joining us live on the show here. That's going to be a really interesting one. A lot of experience in traditional finance, Web 2, and now in Web 3. So guest show today. We have some really cool guests getting lined up here in the next few days and weeks, and some cool surprises too. This is the ideal time to build. It is the ideal time to build. It is the ideal time to get busy while all the tourists are either unfocused or left the market, and they'll come back. They always do. But this is when you actually focus. So we have a lot of news on the CoinRock side, CoinRock Media side, of course. Let's push this out. I think this should be the right link. Let me just have a look here. Yes, this is the right link. All right. So live. Welcome. So let's review a bit of the news today. Overall, looking kind of like yesterday, honestly. I mean, a nice green day. The question on everyone's mind is this it, right? Is this the next leg up? And I had a long call today with Caius, so my partner at CoinRock, and Lucas, partner in several CoinRock projects, and we do not believe this is the I think that's kind of, if you've been following the cycle, I think that it is very likely that we keep chopping for a bit. Again, like we talked about this yesterday, right? So my view is that mid to long term, super bullish. We have a lot of updates here. I mean, as you guys know, right, the market never stops. What's interesting to see is the level of interest in crypto and the different types of players interested in the market is very different this cycle. And so we'll talk about that too. We have two pieces of news about that specifically. And then also looking at kind of, seeing what Trump said yesterday about easing tariffs, or in a way kind of not being as harsh. So again, flip-flopping again, toning down the rhetoric about the the tariffs and being harsh on other countries, does that fuel the next rally up? It definitely helps. I think that April 2nd, so that's next week. What day exactly is that? Let's have a look. What day is that exactly? Is that next Wednesday? So a week from now, I think we'll have a better idea in terms of tariffs, what goes in, like what actually happens with these tariffs, right? There's been tariff talks for weeks now, 2 months, actually more, because he talked about that when he was campaigning, right? So we'll see. I think next Wednesday will be interesting to see. Is it a buy the news, sell the news? I mean, like I said, I'm interested in 3 different things. One is tariffs. 2, of course, is QT and the evolution from a reduction of QT to QE. And I think that's going to happen in the next few days or weeks. And interest rates. We saw a tweet, I think it was yesterday, Trump saying that he hopes that the Fed lowers interest rates. So that's the play. All right. So one of the most read articles on CoinRock Media is the article I wrote last week about, is Trump forcing the Fed's hand through this kind of flip-flopping, threatening tariffs, etc. Does that contribute in a good way, in a bad way, to the relationship with the Fed? How does that work? Does Jerome Powell, is he able to sustain the Trump pressure, right? Because we know that Trump does very well under pressure. He doesn't feel pressure. And there is something to say about how people handle pressure. It's something that I am very what's the word, familiar with, because having been trained and growing up as a professional athlete, it's one of the things that they teach you from age 8, is how do you handle the important points on the tennis court? How do you handle a break point, a set point, match point? How do you handle being down a set and a break? How do you handle being up a set and a break? So, pressure is very much, I'd say, is a very underestimated tool in a leader's arsenal. I think Trump, I haven't seen many leaders on earth that handle pressure as well as Trump does. And so the question is, does Trump get away with it, right? Does he apply enough pressure on the Fed, and does the Fed budge, or does the Fed stick to its apolitical role? Remember, the Fed is not supposed to take any political side. That being said, like I said in the article last week, I wrote that at the end of the day, human beings are human beings. They're governed by emotions, much more by their emotional side than the rational side. I don't care who you are, whether you're an analyst, whether you are the head of the Fed, you are a human being. Yes, you look at the data, but ultimately, you will cave under pressure at some point. Everyone has a breaking point. And Trump's breaking point, he has just a lot more. He's known to be much stronger than the average person under pressure. Some people fold under pressure. Some people do well. I always have done very well under pressure. It's like the higher the stakes, the calmer it literally, like the lower my heart rate gets to. So it's I like the pressure. So some people don't handle pressure well, and that's fine. Not everyone does. Some people like to have more freedom and need more space to think clearly, and others just, it helps them almost get more focused on the objective the more pressure there is. I like pressure. I do very well under pressure. I think most entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, do very well under pressure. And it's also one of the core traits of good entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and successful investors, is how do you handle pressure? How do you handle, if we talk about the investing side, is how do you handle a position being down hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars? Do you fold? Do you DCA? Do you have conviction? Do you stay in? Do you flip flop? Do you throw in the towel? And that says a lot about the type of leader that you are. And this can be applied to anything, right? If you're a student and you're going through exams, do you fold? Do you does pressure strengthen you? Does it make you stronger, or do you just get weaker? Does pressure make you crumble? So very interesting topic. That's more on the psychological side, and it's something that we look into a lot when we have leaders on our teams, whether it's marketers, whether it's team leaders, whether it's developers. How do they do under pressure? Inevitably in the workspace, you will be confronted with pressure, right? You will have a deadline. Most likely things will not go in your favor because life has a way of challenging you. Uh, you'll have delays. You will have team members drop out. You'll have tech issues, and the issue is, or I'd say the question is, how do you operate? How do you perform under pressure? So, I think a good example in crypto was how Bybit over a month ago handled the $1.4 billion hack. And, I think that, having been in that situation ourselves at CoinRock a year ago, actually, right during TGE, when Cyclix, when CYG launched the token, right? We had a smaller situation, but a technical exploit basically. And I went live on, I think it was it video? No, I think we did spaces. I think it was an audio space. I don't know if I did video that day. And just basically said, hey guys, this is what's up. This is what happened. And, we just handle the situation, then move on to the next thing, because it's part of the game, right? So I think it's very interesting if you are building a team, assembling a team, to look for people who do well under pressure. Not everyone does well. Some people literally crumble. We've seen key and lead developers go MIA at the most important time of development, right before pushing a major update, and they just can't handle it. And you see others rise up to the level required, rise up and become better, and you see even their focus being sharper. So, it says a lot about the type of, like, what are you really made of, right? When you when the odds are against you, and in this case, coming back to Trump or actually to Bybit first, seeing Bybit getting hacked or exploited for $1.4 billion, and seeing the CEO going on a video stream and being pretty chill about it, addressing the issues, not sugarcoating, not trying to hide, but literally confronting the issue, facing the community and any fears of contagion. I think that's very bullish. It says a lot about the leader itself, of course, himself in this case, but also shows a lot of resilience to other people in the market and saying, like, this is how it's handled. So how does Trump influence decisions on the Fed side? We'll see. My view is it's always been like that. Human beings are human beings. Like I said, I don't care who you are. Everyone has a breaking point. Top athletes have breaking points. Otherwise, they would score 100 out of 100, which they don't. Even the GOATs, even the Gretzkys, the Michael Jordans, the Roger Federers don't win everything. They don't win everything all the time. They do have a breaking point. Everyone has a breaking point. And just some handle it much, much better, and they're much tougher to beat. And if the competition beats you, or beats you in a position where you think that you brought your A game, fine. And then you have to raise your level and improve. But in this case, it's gonna be interesting to see who basically blinks first. My money's on Trump, of course, to win, because he's, like I said, the best example is when he got shot in Pennsylvania, right? What was it, last summer, July, August? And you can see that video, right? That's probably one of the most iconic videos of the last few decades when it comes to US presidents. Him taking a bullet and standing up and saying fight 3 times. I don't care if you like Trump or not. That's that's not the topic here, but very few people, very few presidential candidates at his age, almost 80 years old. You would expect them to be tired, you would expect them to be weak, and no, he stood up and he said, fight. So it shows a lot, especially being under pressure. At that time, you didn't know if there was a second shooter, if the first shooter was a decoy. No one knew, right? You're in the heart of the action. Everything's happening so fast. So again, that just shows the level of resilience and tolerance to pain, mental pain, physical pain, of course, because you're also in, of course, adrenaline kicks in, but you took a bullet and you stood up. Says a lot about how you are and how you operate under stress. So if there's one person on earth who knows how to handle stress and criticism and assassination attempts, it's Trump. So let's see what happens now with the Fed. I think that the Fed's going to try to push it to delay it as much as possible. Let's see what happens with the markets, of course, tariffs, and let's call it the reversal on tariffs that Trump came out with yesterday is bullish, of course. That's why we saw Bitcoin pop from 82 to like 88, 83, 82, 82 to 88-ish. You can see it's a bit greener today. Of course, everything is rides off the back of sentiment and the mood in the trenches. Even you can see the mood on Twitter is much more positive. And again, the question is this the next rally? Is this the next leg up? Do we hit 95, 100K? I don't think so. My view is, and it'll be interesting to ask this question to our guest today, Mati Greenspan, who will be joining us in about 20 minutes. We'll talk about the macro. We'll talk about traditional markets, traditional finance, and Web3, of course, too, because he's also very active on the investment and building side. My view is I would not be surprised if we revisit the lows. I don't think we drop under 70-ish. I think it would take a lot to see us drop. But is this the next leg up to 150? Maybe, but only if the two main question marks, I would say, or the two main topics have or get some sort of clarity. Number one, QT/QE, and number two, of course, interest rates. Until then, I think it's of course it's always Trump dependent, literally Trump tweet dependent, and at this stage, I think there's I don't think we're there yet, despite the bullish headlines. Welcome everyone, welcome to the show. We have a guest joining us in about 20 minutes. Mati, who is, like I said, very active in now Web3, comes from traditional finance. Very interesting story. So we'll get into that in about 20, 25 minutes. Before that, I want to have a look at some of the headlines here for you guys. So again, ETH just over 2,000, so just under 2,500. Let's keep it positive for ETH. ETH has had a tough cycle. Bitcoin 87, between 87 and 80K over the last 24 hours. So that's very nice to see. Overall, just the mood is much more positive over the last 24 hours, 24, 48 hours. I think, like I said, what is very interesting to me is seeing the amount of bullish headlines and also the let's say the discrepancy between what's happening specifically to the crypto market when it comes to finally getting some regulatory clarity, finally getting some real institutional adoption, and seeing that we are in this choppy phase. So let's have a look at some of the headlines here. Starting with this one, Massachusetts subpoenas Robinhood. So let me just pull up. So let's start with this one here. Robinhood is once again drawing heat from regulators, this time for blurring the line between trading and gambling. So as you guys might know, Polymarkets came out, let's see, probably 2 years ago with was it 2 years ago? When did they launch? But at least a year and a half ago, with a prediction market, right? You could bet on world events. Will Biden be reelected? Will Kamala Harris win versus Trump? And you could actually create any type of bet yourself on Polymarket. And that has gone viral. A lot of world events actually, or 100%, have been closely correlated to the success of Polymarket bets. So that's been very interesting to see. Of course, there's a lot of money in the, ultimately you're betting on world events. Will this team win, or will this event happen? I saw a bet on Polymarkets. Will Jesus return this year? And I think the odds were like 97-3. It was very, very interesting, actually. So you can come up with all these crazy scenarios. And of course, there's a lot of money in that business. It's a growing industry. We know GambleFi very well. One of the CoinRock incubated projects is called Cyclix Games. It's a gaming and gambling ecosystem. So we know the market extremely well. It is a very, very lucrative industry. And of course, regulators are going to look into it. So Robinhood launched this. They announced this a few weeks ago, I believe. And so Massachusetts Secretary of State Bill Galvin confirmed the subpoena, criticizing Robinhood for turning serious investing into a game of chance. Galvin says this is just another gimmick from a company that's very good at gimmicks. Not the first time Robinhood gets heat. Of course, they had a lot of they remember that GameStop issue during the GME short squeeze in 2021, 22, 21. Robinhood faced a lot of scrutiny because they disabled the sell button. So was it the buy button or the sell button? One or the other. Ultimately, they did something that you would expect a C, like a third tier crypto exchange operating in a very obscure way, and they're licensed, of course, in the US. They're a publicly traded company, and they kind of got around that one and got lucky. So again, betting wrapped in a financial product. So that's basically what the I don't think it's the SEC, right? It's the Attorney General, Secretary of State. Yeah. So this is going to be settled at some point. Robinhood will come out with some sort of news updates in the terms and conditions. There is no rolling back and going back in a pre-poly market world. Like I said, the betting industry is only growing. It's just a matter of aligning incentives and making sure that they have the proper licensing and the proper level of either regulatory clarity that's needed, but also that they don't, like I said here, don't get betting wrapped in or position betting as a financial product. Regardless, the betting industry is alive and thriving, will keep thriving. It's just a matter of positioning it in a way that that is more acceptable in the eyes of the regulators for Robinhood. This is what I wanted to show you guys today. Arizona's crypto reserve bill advances to full floor vote. Remember a few years ago when everyone was talking about states and countries buying crypto and Bitcoin, and ultimately it was a meme, right? Everyone was saying, remember the meme, like even 2017, 2018, the institutions are here, the institutions are coming. Well, in the previous cycle, that's when we saw, I'd say, the first non-crypto native institutions buying Bitcoin, or at least trading Bitcoin, dabbling in Bitcoin. This is the first cycle where non-crypto, non-Web3 funds are actually taking large positions, as you guys know, with BlackRock and even other companies, publicly listed companies, using the Michael Saylor playbook. This was interesting because this is a state, right? Arizona in the US, two strategic digital asset bills, the Strategic Digital Assets Reserves Bill and the Arizona Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act have cleared the House Rules Committee and are now headed for a full floor vote. If passed, the bills would mark a historic shift in state-level finance, allowing Arizona to diversify its reserves with Bitcoin. Unbelievable. Fidelity to Cryptic, of course. There's so many of the dozens of these firms, and these are trillion-dollar firms. BlackRock, as you guys know, I think they have like $9 or $10 trillion AUM. So again, these are not the Web3 hedge funds of 2017, 2018 buying a few $1 million worth of Bitcoin. These are globally like respected and respectable Web2 traditional finance, I don't know, Web2 just traditional TradFi entities. This is very interesting. Arizona's House Rules Committee passed both Bitcoin reserve bills, ruling them constitutional and in proper form. The bills have now passed their assigned committees. So this is something that the industry was, quote, dreaming about a few years ago. And again, brings up the issue of, or the question of, is this good? Is centralization good? These entities is, the fact that these entities are buying Bitcoin. I saw the numbers yesterday from MicroStrategy. They actually bought, I think it was $500 million worth of Bitcoin yesterday, owning now around 2% of the Bitcoin supply. Is that good? Again, a decentralized asset now is becoming more centralized with literally whale holders. We'll see. That's a completely different topic, but that's on the Arizona side. Let's have a look at Kentucky. Kentucky governor signs Bitcoin rights bill into law. Again, unbelievable. Kentucky just made a bold statement in the growing national fight over Bitcoin rights. The governor signed House Bill 701 into law, officially protecting Bitcoin mining, self-custody, and node operations. Remember, we talked about this, right? We talked about the idea that game theory is in full display. This is game 3 101. States, we talked about Florida was one of the first states that openly said, hey, we want to be crypto friendly. We want to make Miami the hub of crypto, which to an extent it is. And then Texas said, hey, we want to be the crypto state. And now you have Arizona passing a bill, and then you have Kentucky, officially protecting Bitcoin mining. We talked about, I think it was one of the Dakotas and Wyoming also wanting to not only adopt Bitcoin, but really make it Bitcoin friendly. So again, the fight is very well on. Backed by the Satoshi Action Fund, the bill guarantees the right to own and control digital assets without fear of discrimination. We are proud to announce that Bitcoin rights has been signed into law. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, if you sold your coins in the last few weeks, the last 2 months, because you're afraid this industry is going to zero, you literally do not understand anything of what's happening in the news every single day, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. It's all on you, right? I'm trying every day to show you the headlines. We're not making anything up. This is not my opinion. This is what's happening in the news. States and countries now gaming, trying to literally game each other, trying to one-up each other into becoming more attractive for the industry, more attractive for investors, more attractive for founders. And that's another example. Crucially, the law also blocks local governments from using zoning laws to discriminate against crypto mining operations. A lot of the miners are in Texas. So again, this is direct competition against states, so between states that are pro-mining. So this is extremely, extremely interesting. And there's a lot of other Midwestern states that have insane amounts of natural, quote, energy, right? And could allocate energy to mining Bitcoin. And that's going to be happening for sure. We talked about the president of Belarus last week, 2 weeks ago, saying that, quote, if the US is doing it with this strategic Bitcoin thing, why don't we do it? So everyone's looking at each other now. It's not just, the crypto bros. It's states, it's countries. States compete in the Bitcoin reserve race. Kentucky's move comes as several states ramp up their own Bitcoin initiatives. Oklahoma, Oklahoma, I saw that yesterday. Oklahoma's strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act just passed the state's House and heads to the Senate. That's 3 in the last 2 days. And so at some point, other states, even if they hate Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. If states are passing pro-Bitcoin and pro-crypto laws, they will need at some point to adopt it. Otherwise, they will lose economically. Investors, founders, builders will move to pro-crypto states. That's what happens with game theory. Even if you don't like it, even if you're emotionally opposed to the idea of crypto, if you hate it, it's irrelevant. Because economically, you need to make a move. Otherwise, you lose. And so your state loses. So this is very interesting too. Oklahoma Bitcoin Association, HB 1203 Bitcoin Strategic Reserve has passed in the House in Oklahoma. 77-15. Easy win. Meanwhile, Arizona leads the race, advancing 2 digital asset reserve bills that position the state at the forefront of state-level Bitcoin adoption. Missouri is also weighing similar legislation. Again, what does it mean? It marks a turning point, not just for the state, but for the larger state-driven movement to protect digital asset freedoms in the U.S. As Washington grapples with crypto regulation, states like Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Arizona seize the chance to define their own Bitcoin policies. Unbelievable. So, very bullish. Let's have a look at something else here. Metaplanet. This is I'm going to call them the Japanese MicroStrategy, because they've been openly using and talking about the sailor strategy. So literally just buying Bitcoin. And remember, these guys got Eric Trump, was it Don Jr. or Eric Trump last week to be a member of the board. Metaplanet increases Bitcoin holdings to 3,350 BTC with latest purchase. In a bold show of confidence in Bitcoin's long-term value, Metaplanet has increased its Bitcoin holdings to 3,350 BTC with a fresh $12 million purchase. That was the tweet. And I saw a tweet yesterday that the CEO basically said, this is Bitcoin only. There is no second best. Literally the same words, right? So very interesting to see that no one knew about Metaplanet. I didn't know about Metaplanet. If you're not in Japan, there is no way you would know Metaplanet unless you're trading it, right? It's not like, it's not Nintendo, it's not Sony. And so now the crypto world, everyone knows Metaplanet. And now they have the son of the US president on the board. This is all through, and we talked about this, saying this for weeks now. Probably since day one of starting the show, I said that what a lot of companies and countries and states and institutions do not understand yet with crypto and Bitcoin is that it's not just about buying the asset. It's about the free press. It's about the positive sentiment around being pro-crypto, pro-innovation, pro-Bitcoin, of course, pro-industry. Again, I mean, I would be very surprised. I'd be interested to see the number of keyword searches on Google for Metaplanet before they started buying crypto, and Bitcoin in this case. For them, it's Bitcoin. Pre-buying Bitcoin and post-buying Bitcoin probably spiked up, just because now, of course, they're in the news. And like I said, I talk about this almost every day now, about second order consequences, right? Them buying Metaplanet buying Bitcoin is great, but it's also showing other companies in Japan that it's okay to buy Bitcoin. You can be publicly listed and you can buy Bitcoin and it's okay. So again, very, very interesting. So far in 2025, Metaplanet has added 1,288 BTC in just 11 weeks, achieving an impressive 68% BTC yield. And we covered this too. They said they want to own 10,000 BTC by the end of the year. So there's going to be a lot of buying pressure. What's up, William? Thank you for the nice comments. And I know William's in Japan. So again, probably the only person here that would know Metaplanet would be William, actually. So now everyone knows Metaplanet in crypto. Chasing a 1% slice of Bitcoin's fixed supply, a growing force in the corporate landscape. Very, very interesting. So with that being said, let me just check messages here because we should be joined very soon by Mati, and that'll be a very cool conversation in the next few minutes. So what we'll do is we could stream all day. I might actually do multi-hour streams at some point because we covered like 3 pieces of news in like 37 minutes now, I can see. It takes us an hour and a half to cover 10. Otherwise, I just read the article, but it's not fun, right? We have to have some fun on these streams. So I'm looking at the DMs here. Thank you, team, for the updates. We will take a 5-minute break, and then we will be joined by Mati Greenspan. I'm really excited for this conversation just because it's something that, first of all, we have a lot of really cool guests lined up. We're going to try to do several a week. We have one today. We have one on Thursday. We might do one on Friday too. The idea is really to, like I said, bridge Web3 and this crazy world of crypto and TradFi, right? And like we said, this is the TradFi cycle. And I want to bring on people who have experience in TradFi or in Web2, ideally both, and just basically talk about the industry, the future of the industry, their experience, their views. And what's going to be interesting is when we have very different views. I want people who have different views on the show because it's interesting for you guys to hear from different people. With that being said, let's take a quick break. Let me put you guys here, and we will take a quick 2-minute break, and we will get back here with Mati. So stay on. Let me just put the nice design here for the BRB, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay connected. We'll be back with Mati in a few minutes. Hey, Matthias here, and if you're enjoying this and want access to even more alpha, early stage deals and opportunities, and also behind the scenes insights on the markets, hit the link in the description and make sure you're subscribed. It's free and it puts you ahead of the curve. Let's get back to the show. Good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to meet you.
Nice. Yeah, same. I was talking with the team here and looking at your experience and everything. And what I wanted to do, I think, is just, when we do these shows, it's very much open-ended. It's a conversation. I have a few questions that we can go over and everything, but it's just about getting smart people on the show who have experience, who are doing things, and who can talk because they're actually either they've built or they're building, they're investing, they're in the quote trenches at different levels. And what was very interesting on your end, so first of all, I want you to do like a full intro to, so people know who you are. And I've read up on you, so I know, but quick intro on your end, and then let's just dive right in. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Mati Greenspan. I'm the founder and CEO of Quantum Economics, formerly senior market analyst of eToro. I was there for a total of 7.5 years, helped them to scale up. I am a licensed portfolio manager in the European Union, holding the SciSec Advanced examination, which authorized me to give trading advice and to handle clients' funds. Quantum Economics is a startup foundry. We've got more than 100 very high quality builders. That can be, anybody from, CEOs and founders to developers, content creators, some of the most prolific writers and researchers in the space, marketing geniuses, basically everything that you need to start a startup. We advise on some very exciting projects within crypto, blockchain, AI, and quantum computing. We have so far 2 startups that actually spun off from Quantum Economics into their own successful companies. One is Quantum Expeditions, where we're mining Bitcoin in West Texas using flare gas, so better for the environment, more profitable for us. And we're building a mobile app called Cora, which is an AI agent designed to help you with DeFi. Basically, that you download the mobile wallet, and Cora, the AI, is integrated into the mobile wallet, and she can help you from anything from onboarding to the most advanced things just by talking to her. Portfolio rebalance, smart contract auditing, sniping, you name it. It's got a bunch of features for both beginners and DeFi degens.
Nice. So what's interesting is you come from, you're not Web3 native. You come from traditional finance. So, I talk about this a lot because I'm not Web3 native. I come from, Web 1, Web 2. So what was the moment that you said, okay, first of all, I'm curious to know how you got into traditional finance at eToro, because 7 years in a TradFi company is long. And then what made you make the jump to this crazy space?
Oh, that's a good question. So I've been paper trading since I was 12 years old. I used to take my grandfather's Wall Street Journal and track the price of crude oil and gold every
Nice.
day. Once I was bar mitzvah, I had a stack of cash that, had to do the research and invest that, and that went pretty well. So I've been familiar with financial markets my entire life. In 2008, I joined AvaFX, which is an online broker, as a telephone sales representative. Moved into account retention, helping people trade and basically being an insider to the financial markets at the time. 2012, I moved to eToro, and that just was a whole new world for me. 2013, March 2013, we get an email from the CEO, Yoni Asya. He's a great guy, by the way, total party animal, and very good boss. He's like, hey, everybody, this is Bitcoin, and this is why Bitcoin's awesome. And, I fell in love at the start, like absolutely, as somebody who had front row seats to the financial crisis. It's like, yay, finally, we got our own version of money, and this is going to be awesome. And then I was very frustrated why, like when I was posting on Facebook at the time, like, why doesn't nobody care about this as much as I do? It's completely revolutionary. And it took a while, but the rest of the world caught up. I've been working towards that future ever since.
Nice. What was your role at eToro? Were you because then you actually are a financial advisor. So what was of course, over 7 years, there's a lot that takes place, especially in that market. Was it purely initially stocks and then crypto? Was it purely crypto at eToro? How was the transition?
Yeah, so I mean, in the beginning, I was just new when I learned about Bitcoin. I was new in eToro. I literally learned a lot. I mean, similar to when I was a kid, I would go to my grandfather's office and hop through the different departments and learn everything that they do to a holistic view of the company. So I did very, very similar at eToro. Just wore a lot of different hats. I was the VIP account manager. So anybody who invested more than $1 million, I'd be assisting them personally. Did launched marketing campaigns, some of them extremely successful. Kind of the go-to guy as far as, if a developer was building a new feature, they'd always come to me to test it out first. They're like, hey, Mati, what do you think about this from a customer's perspective? And I could give them, some critical feedback on how to build it properly. Yeah, so and then I was the front man as far as like market analysis in the news. I was on Bloomberg, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, you name it, on a daily basis. So that was a lot of fun, and it gave me the opportunity that I'm very thankful for, to kind of build a reputation for myself, even while at eToro, and gave me kind of the confidence to start my own project.
Yep. What was the transition like from a very good position, good visibility through the company to then going entrepreneur, building your own thing?
It was the biggest risk of my life, Matt. Like literally, I had 2 kids at the time and another on the way. I have 4 now.
Congratulations.
And
Nice.
like you can't imagine it, because you're like, okay, you're going from a steady salary to where the hell am I going to make an income from? Like, and I was lucky enough that pension laws in this country are very good, so I had some sort of a cushion. But at the end of the day, and it was a good time too. 2019, I knew the market was good. I knew that the market was a good time for the market, because that was like literally as they were printing money like it was going out of style. I remember getting a call from the bank at one point. I think it was shortly before that, a few months before that I left eToro, and they're like, "Hey, do you want a loan of 6 figures?" And I'm like, "Have you seen my account? I'm in overdraft." Like, they're like, "Yeah, it's okay." I'm like, and what's the bank making on this? And they're like, "Well, we're making a few thousand shekels off of it." And I'm like, all right, give me the loan. And I plowed the whole thing into Bitcoin. It's like, I just realized that the market was like, they're printing money like it's going out of style. And clearly there's going to be some inflation coming after that. But it was good. It was a good time. And I was able to quickly establish myself as an independent and start building the team at Quantum Economics, which I am still building today.
Nice. Yeah, it's I'm an entrepreneur. I've had, I don't know if giving tennis lessons as a pro, because I was a tennis pro, got injured, gave tennis lessons just to basically pay the bills and pay my online advertising, my credit card back in 2005, 2006, and 7, and then went full on as a before entrepreneurship was fun, right? I mean, or let's call it popular. It wasn't what you see on. I mean, there was no Instagram at the time. There was nothing. Yes, it was very much all right, this is what I need to do. I have no idea. I don't know how and what, but I feel that this is what needs to be done. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, you took the other route, which is, and I think everyone here, I know that a lot of people have jobs and a lot of people have an idea, because I think crypto also it shows you that you can make money in a different way than quote just a job. And I'm pretty sure people here watching with the same question that you had before, going and building your own path, basically blazing your own path. And is it too late? Is it risky? And this and that. So it's possible. So I'd say my question for this one is, what did you learn that you wish you knew before taking the step or taking the leap?
Oh, geez. I learn new things every day. I've got several startups in tandem, 4 kids. And you know, there's some days where I get so busy that I can't even go to the bathroom. But I also have a lot of days where I just take a day off and spend it with my kids and take them to the park or for pizza or stuff like that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's one specific thing that I've learned along the way that's completely ultimate. What I'd like to say is that never underestimate the power of people, and especially talented people who have experience and who have done amazing shit, and their ability to continue to produce.
Yeah.
You get some like-minded people together. You have an idea, do the research. Not every idea is a winner, but provided that you find one that you're quite confident is going to turn into something real, jump into it. Just don't even look back. And once you've made that go no go decision and you've decided to go, there's no failure. You need to be consistent, and you need to keep driving at it every single day and pushing it forward every single day. And before you know it, success is going to come. I promise you that.
Yeah, it is. It can be scary, especially if you have, a family in your 30s, 40s. It's definitely not the same situation as when you're 18 and you have, safety, security of having a roof over your head, just being able to go back to your parents if anything goes wrong. So it is a different situation. It's always a great story when you take the risk and you're rewarded. What's your view? What are you the most excited about in this market, like in this cycle? Because you've seen a few on both ends, right? TradFi, crypto. What comes to mind for this cycle with your experience?
Yeah, excellent question. I actually love this market cycle. This is by far my favorite market cycle to date, as far as since Bitcoin was born. And the reason is because we're finally seeing the flushing out of the bullshit. And this is the first cycle, crypto cycle or a crypto bull run that has not been accompanied by massive money printing.
Yeah.
So until now, the biggest influencer of the price of Bitcoin was the Federal Reserve and how much money they're printing, because that's just what fed the price and fed the demand for Bitcoin and all of the other coins. And Gary Gensler, along with the Joe Biden administration, Operation Choke Point 2.0, what they essentially did was they chased out the good actors from the system, and left the bad actors, and that had a terrible influence on the way that crypto shaped out, because instead of rewarding utility and value creation, we're now rewarding hype and nothingness. I don't know how else to call it. Just basically you have these, like Gary Gensler said, okay, securities are illegal and everything's a security. And the market said, well, we've got something that you weren't prepared for. It's called a meme coin, okay? And it has no utility. You can't accuse us of that, and therefore it can't be a security. But what is it essentially? It's a value extraction method. And value extraction methods work very well when money is free, right? There's money going into the system and you have this extraction method, great. But it doesn't work well when there isn't money flowing into the system. So now that we're in this place where Gary Gensler's gone and we don't have massive money printing, we're going back to the fundamentals. We're going back to what is a good asset, what is value creation, and how does that impact price? And we're just at the very, very, very beginning of this, because the Trump administration, I mean, as fast as they're moving, they haven't even gotten started yet. Over the next year, we're going to see deregulation, and what that actually looks like. And we're going to couple that with new technologies, you know, and innovation on an unprecedented scale. I'm quite confident that, you know, with quantum computing and AI, I mean, AI has made me 10 times more productive, and I'm sure it has done the same for you and probably everybody watching. And so if you think about 10x of everybody on the planet who has a professional career, I mean, what's that going to do for global GDP? Just that in and of itself, and then couple that with quantum computing, which I believe will be quite ready for consumer production, consumer consumption within the next 5 or 10 years. We're headed to a place where, and don't even get me started on like biotech and stuff like that. Like, I'm quite confident that we are on the precipice of a golden age, the likes of which can last centuries.
Yep. You know what's interesting is we do these shows almost every day, right? And I review the news, and what's interesting is the fear in the market, right? You see the timeline just being panicked over the last few weeks, and I try to tell people, just look at the facts, look at the headlines, look at the states in the US, right? Literally, we reviewed something right before the you hopped on here about like Arizona, Oklahoma, all these states passing bills, making it. I literally covered the story about. I'm glad that you're talking about this, so maybe we can jump into that.
Absolutely.
The was it Kentucky? Yeah, it was Kentucky and Arizona.
Are you
And
talking
I
about
said,
Bitcoin bills?
correct. Yeah, I said,
40
these
states in
states,
total, almost all of them.
unbelievable,
Yeah,
unbelievable. So, I said that some of these Midwestern states have so much free energy, free power. They're going to be mining Bitcoin. So I'm glad that you actually have you. So tell us about the the project, the company, because I actually didn't know about the gas flares. I'm curious to hear more because I literally covered that like half an hour ago.
oh, awesome. Yeah. So, quantum economics does a lot of research and articles and stuff like that. We have some great content creators and researchers. So, uh, it was back in 21 when, you know, money was free, but Bitcoin was getting a lot of flack in the news as far as its environmental impact. So we decided to take matters into our own hands and start researching that. Actually, what we found was, first of all, that if done correctly, Bitcoin mining is extremely profitable. So that was the number one thing that, you know, lit the light bulb in my head. And number two, the ultimate findings of its environmental impact are that long term, Bitcoin is good for the environment because it incentivizes the creation of new energy sources, most of which are renewable energy. And we've got several research projects going on at the moment, you know, where we're looking at many different, a spectrum of different types of alternative energy for the purpose of quantum expeditions. So we made the decision to pull the trigger, incorporated the company on November 11th, 2021, which was the exact day that Bitcoin hit 69,420. If you remember that day, it's also my co-founder Doug Hardwick's birthday. So Doug was introduced to me by Oz Sultan, who was already on the quantum team and had done some background research. And we said, we need an oil and gas guy in Texas. And we found Doug. Doug's been 20 years in the oil and gas industry over there, has all the connections that are required. And we've been mining profitably for a year. We've so far raised $1.1 million, mostly from retail investors. We are now in the process of deploying our first site, which will be off grid. So right now we're mining profitably, but you know, the electric company is still making 5 times the amount that we are, because we still have to pay the electric bill. So there's like this kind of feeling like, okay, we're making money, but you know, we're really working for the electric company over there. When we go off grid, the whole dynamic changes because the the energy that we're using is basically from natural gas that comes out of the ground when they're drilling for oil. So the producers actually are looking for oil, and they get natural gas and like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I don't need it. And it's dirt cheap, and they can, if they have a pipeline nearby, they can feed it into a pipeline and sell it to the next guy. But in a lot of cases, they don't have any pipeline nearby. It costs them like $1 million a mile to build a pipe. So they have gas that's trapped. So what do they do with it? Generally speaking, they flare it. I mean, they just burn it off into the atmosphere. In New Mexico, they don't even allow them to do that. So if they have that natural gas, and they can't get rid of it, they're literally stuck with their thumbs up their butt. But for the purposes of Bitcoin mining, we come to them and we say, hey, you don't want that anyway. Anyways, just give it to us, and we negotiate a very, very cheap price for it. We're basically doing them a favor, and that slashes our electric bill by 70 to 80%. And then all that money that was going to the electric company comes back into our pocket. It's better for the environment.
Yep.
And it's much more profitable for our investors. And we're now speaking with several institutional investors. We've got a crowd fund that's open right now, which is basically using regulation CF. We had to set that up under Gary Gensler to make sure that we're by the rules. And, obviously when you're building $1 billion company, you can't do that with like, oh, we've got an NFT that gives you a hash rate. No. This is actually like crowd fund set up under the rules of regulation CF, which gives you a sale of future equity in the company. So you'll be basically owning part of the company as we grow. And then, the crowdfund is over on April 30th. So that'll be the last opportunity to get in there. And then we're going to go to an institutional round where we'll be able to scale up massively.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's so much game theory at play here. I think people underestimate the fight, whether it's funds against funds, states against states. We're just seeing the beginning of that. And maybe let's go back to what you were saying, because I fully agree on that. The people underestimate the level of, or the size of the players getting involved in this cycle, which we haven't seen in the previous cycles. And you've been around for years too, and the whole institutions are here was a meme initially, right? So, and now it's real. I maybe talk about that, because I think it's important for people to hear this from someone who also comes from TradFi and what you're seeing also on the institutional side.
Yeah, I remember the whole debate, right? Like, is our institutions good for Bitcoin or not good for Bitcoin? Because when we started, this was all about unseating them.
Yep.
And I suppose that's probably why Andreas Antonopoulos just kind of faded into the background and stopped doing public appearances, because it's like, well, I don't know. And what can you say about that? Did we win, or are they winning us? We don't know. They basically understood. They now understand the power of decentralized currency. And I believe that it's a win, and I also believe that their participation is a net positive on the ecosystem. And not because they're pulling a win out of it, but because it globalizes the system and legitimizes it for everybody. So now there's not a MFer out there who can say, oh, Bitcoin is horrible, and all of the banks that I trust, like, they hate Bitcoin, so Bitcoin is really, really bad, and I'm not going to use it. No, the banks are adopting it faster than the guy on the street. So your resistance kind of just breaks down completely over there.
It's getting to a point where I think that, like, retail is not bullish enough based on how bullish the institutions are. And they don't understand that in the next 3, 6, 12, 24 months, they'll be getting emails from their local banks saying, hey, we have a Bitcoin product, we have a crypto product, we have a basket. It's just a matter of time. Some of the banks already started. Even in very conservative traditional countries in Europe, it's the beginning. And I think the retail observer, especially those who've been on Twitter for years now, and probably have gone through the FTX debacle and everything, still have that PTSD, but I'm trying to tell people this is a different cycle. The players are different this cycle. Whether you want to or not, they'll be pushing crypto through email marketing and through SMS marketing to get you to buy something, where you have your savings accounts on. So it's very different.
Some of them will and some of them won't, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, the banks here and in Australia as well are very anti-crypto, and I can say that they're scared. They're shaking in their boots. And I had a tax refund, a sizable tax refund. Thankfully, last week I was able to, when Bitcoin was at 85K, I was like, okay, this is a good time to push some chips in. And it came through. And as I sent the transfer out, I did it after business hours because I knew that they would try to block that, and they didn't catch it in time. But they did send me this whole long SMS, which says, we don't support this. This is bad activity. And like, my bank has given me flack in the past for like accepting Bitcoin into my account. They're like, well, you got to provide documents. You got to say where, source of funds and stuff like that. And I'm like proving them source of funds, but they don't have any concept, and there was no documents that were going to satisfy them because it wasn't about them verifying my validity. They were just trying to give me hell, right? Yep. But at this point, the money came from the government. There is no question of source of funds, and I'm using it to invest in Bitcoin, which is not illegal in any way, shape, or form in this country. But they still send me this whole long SMS saying that, first of all, you can't do that anymore without our permission, and second of all, we can't guarantee that the money's going to come back into this account. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, I've seen
those. Okay with that.
We've had, the UK was notorious after the previous cycle, again, like shutting down corporate accounts. These are major banks who've been, let's name them. HSBC literally laundered money. Was convicted of laundering money for the Mexican cartels, right? I'm sure you've seen that. Paid one of the biggest fines in banking history, shutting down accounts because you got a crypto transfer. It's and some banks will never accept it. You're absolutely right. But there's also peer pressure too, because they're losing money on fees too. They're losing banking relationships. So maybe not this cycle, but I have hope that even let's call it the anti-crypto banks at some point will fold just because they have to, not because they want to.
Or they'll go under. And remember that they resisted the internet as well.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget that. The banking industry as one unit said, we are against this new technology. They were scared of the internet. Yeah. And at the end of the day, whoever went online first and said, okay, we have a website now, and you can come and log in and see your bank balance and execute transactions online, they were the winner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They grabbed a whole bunch of market share that day. So this is exactly the way it's going to play out with Bitcoin as well. They're going, the ones who adopt it first are going to be winners. And the ones, and albeit we're moving to a future that is more decentralized and more tokenized, and everything, and I've been saying this since 2015, everything that has a ticker, everything that can be traded for money online, including the money itself, is going to be tokenized and traded on the blockchain. That's a matter of time. And so what's a bank's real role in that? They're going to be displaced. They're going to be at least minimized to a fraction of what they once were as the centralized party who, like, there's no alternative to. You need to go to them and you need to pay whatever fee they tell you because you just don't have another option. So we're headed to that world. And again, the ones who adopt it first are gonna be better off than they otherwise would have been. And the ones who resist it are going to be much worse off and are going to fail.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Question about, this is a topic of conversation with my friends who are purely Web3 native, grew up in this, like the 20-year-old, versus people like us who come from pre-Web3. What's the biggest, or some of the biggest shifts, or
old folks, you mean?
The old ones? I don't want to say it, but you know how it is. we have we have a few people in this audience who are even older than us, so it's actually very good. What are the things that you had to kind of shift or adapt to in the way you're thinking, the way you're planning, the way you're operating, and how different? What are the differences that you're seeing in dealing in Web3, raising in Web3 versus TradFi and Web2?
What do you mean? Like, what's the difference between
I'll
Web3?
give you an example, right? So on the recruiting side, for example, we've noticed, and I own a recruitment agency. So recruiting specifically in Web3, the talent pool is just much smaller than in Web2. So there's just less, there's fewer, there's less talent to hire from. So that's one of the observations, that if you're not in Web3, you don't know about it. So what are some of the things that you've seen or different to between TradFi and the way your mind saw the markets, stocks, for example, and then now crypto and this new kind of financial world?
Yeah, and to go you one further, so yeah, hiring people is difficult, but you know what else is really difficult? Marketing. Because
Yep.
and I've seen it time and time again
Yep.
where
Yep.
Web3 projects come out with this awesome Web3 service, but they're very, very limited
Yeah.
to who they can market to, who they can
Yep.
actually bring on board, who their target user is. Because uh, MetaMask and Phantom, I mean, they're good products, but I remember 2020, 2021 era when I was trying to get into NFTs, and like I heard of MetaMask and I've seen screenshots, but it took months until I figured out how to actually like
Yeah.
install it into my browser and use it as a wallet, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was after like actually installing the MetaMask browser like back in the day, right? Like so those widgets need to die, literally, and I'm gonna kill them. So this is part of what we're building with Cora Finance. So actually Cora Finance is designed for one purpose, which nobody else is thinking about right now, which is onboarding new users, making it
Mhm.
simple and safe for
Yeah.
everyone. And the way that we do this is by integrating an AI agent into the wallet itself, who has visibility and can assist with anything that you need, right? Like there's no crypto customer service. Well, now there is. Okay, so
Yep.
now you can
Yep.
just download the wallet, and like, and if your cousin comes to you and says, hey, I want to stake Ethereum, how do I do that? And you're gonna be like, it's not as easy as telling them, hey, go to Coinbase and buy some Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
You have to, oh, you're like, oh, well, you got to go on Twitter Spaces for 30 hours a week, and study for another 1,000 hours, and eventually you'll probably get rugged.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. Click on the wrong link, on the wrong
Yeah,
MetaMask link,
exactly.
in comments on YouTube. Oh yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what we're building to onboard the next billion users, is a wallet that thinks, and a wallet that is there to assist people with all of those type of problems, and actually just make it very simple. Um, Multi-chain on the back end, but
Mhm.
bringing a simple user face to the front end. So if I
Yeah.
got five Ethereum on 5 different chains, which I do, it'll just display them as one line, and then the user can go in and dig in and see it, or oh, I get this airdrop, but I don't have Avex in the wallet to pay the gas fee to get it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that is an hour right there, and
Oh
five
yeah.
different websites, like,
Yeah.
easily. So yeah, Cora, can you claim that airdrop for me? Sure. I'll need to bridge some gas over. It's going to cost you this. Is that okay? Yes, please. Execute. Done.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very, it's weird because it's supposed to be the future of finance, right? This Web3 industry, right? And then it's so
Yes.
antiquated. Like it's the experience of using MetaMask today in 2025 is so antiquated, and they still are the one of the top three names. I mean, Phantom, yes, came in over the last year or two, but MetaMask is everyone. The mind share they have is unbelievable for being such a poor product on the UX side,
Yeah.
um, and it's definitely hurting the onboarding experience because, I mean, go to any forum. I mean, don't if you're listening to this, don't, because you'll get scammed and you'll get drained. But if you go to any forum and you look at the questions about what is gas, why do I need to click twice or 3 times to confirm a transaction? It makes no sense to anyone non-crypto.
Just type the word MetaMask and tweet it and see what happens. You're going to be jumped by 30 scammers. Like, hey, you need help with MetaMask? I can help you, no problem. Just give me your private keys. I'll help you, no problem. No. So that's a problem. That is an issue, and we're fixing it. It has to be fixed if we're gonna realize this future of decentralized self-custody. And we know very well that as soon as we come out with this product, there's going to be copycats, and MetaMask will install an AI, and we'll sell them ours if they're really nice.
Yeah, we'll put all the links here in the recording and everything. So on YouTube and Twitter and everything to everything you have. What are you the most bullish on this cycle? Whether it's whatever it is, whether it's an institution, the US president, whatever it is.
Dogecoin, first of all, which, I mean, like, the amount of times Doge is mentioned in the news these days, like, that is going to translate into price action. I'm quite certain that Dogecoin under $1 is easy money. But the Dogecoin institution itself, I'm a student of Milton Friedman. I don't know if you familiar with. Yeah, so his economics are pretty simple. Capitalism is good for humanity because every single individual doing what's in their own best interest is going to ultimately bring up everybody around them. And I feel that way many times. And government intervention is always bad. There are very, very few things that government needs to be involved in. And people say, oh, like, I believe that taxation is theft, right? And like, people are like, well, but where would the roads come from? Less than 2% of your taxes are actually spent on roads. So don't even.
I know, and people still don't get it. Yes, it's wild.
And the young America in 1776 went to war over a 2-cent tax on tea. And now people are forking over easily half of their earnings to a government that is wasting it, squandering it, and the levels of corruption and I've been saying this for months, even before the presidential election even got started. The level of corruption is off the charts. You find yourself in a position of power, and it's so simple, and nobody was checking for it. You send out money and channel it back in through the other end from a friend or a relative, and bada bing, bada boom, you become a millionaire on $200,000 a year salary. And that's the story of just about every Congress person in power right now. Just look at their net worth versus their income. It doesn't make any sense.
It's literally like mathematically impossible.
Yeah, and you could say, well, they've got insider information as far as stock. That can't be it. It can't be they're the best trader in the world and they only make great trades, and that's because that's why. And even if it is, it's still pretty sickening, because they're basically insider trading against the rest of us. But the work that Elon is doing right now, I believe is the Lord's work. I mean, that is actually going to fix a lot of things, and this is what's setting us up. This is why I'm so excited about this cycle, is because right now, I mean, people are complaining about the volatility. Right now, we're flushing out the bullshit, taking all that bullshit, flushing it out. We're hitting a reset on the entire economy, and we have an excellent case study. Javier Milei in Argentina just did this. He, in one single year, he took Argentina from being in a deep, dark hole of corruption and
inflation,
and he's taken it to positive, and he's put the country in the black in a single year just by firing people. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing. And now that the United States is doing it, the rest of the world is going to have to follow suit. They will have to, because there's democracy, and as much as the media likes, the media can lie. people will just look at the numbers. It will be just very clear, plain as day, what those type of policies do to the economy, right? And when they see, you know, the GDP rising, and they see employment at max capacity, and they see all of the wealth that's being generated off of the back of these deregulation and smaller government policies, they're going to want it too. And
Yep.
any politician who runs on larger government or bigger programs, they're going to be toast. And that's going to have a knock-on effect across the world. And then multiply that, again, just multiply that with the new technologies that are coming out. Done deal.
Yep.
Done deal.
Yep. I agree. I think that, do you remember during COVID when everyone went remote, and you saw on TikTok all those like day in the life of, I work in the tech startup, not startup even, in these big like Fortune 200 companies. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, I've built and sold multiple tech businesses. There is no way these jobs survive with, you know, in the next few years. No way. And of course, mass layoffs, right? 2 years later. And the question is, you know, why were those jobs opened and available in the first place? And it's the same thing in the government. I fully agree with you. I think that it's a painful phase now for people to see, right? To see that, yeah, people are losing jobs. But the question is, why were those jobs available in the first place? And the government was always extremely bloated, especially in the US. It has to be, and I hope for the US, just the deficit is one thing, but just like I think the mindset, you know, people seeing that it's not okay for these thousands of government employees to do nothing all day, for many of them, and get a very nice paycheck and benefits. I think it's not okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I have nothing to add. It is correct, and this is what's been happening. And I think Elon Musk, like, he really described the problem,
Yeah.
is that the whole system is set up for complaint minimization. And when nobody wanted to, you get to the point where you don't want to fire anybody. He's not doing his job. He's not coming into work. He's not doing anything. You don't want to fire him. Why?
Yeah.
You don't have to. Who cares? Because the money is coming from nowhere. There's no
Yeah.
checks and balances as far as spending, and that those checks and balances as far as spending have been eroding over decades.
Yeah.
And it's great that we have a president now who's willing to come in and right the ship. Saw a fantastic interview with Newt Gingrich this morning. Like, it's like, I wish Ronald Reagan would have done that. We'd have been in a much better place. But it takes somebody from outside of the system to actually go in and do something like that. And
Yep.
because, you know, somebody who's in the system, like a politician, they're bought off by the time they ever get in that chair, and they don't really have, their ability to do anything is constrained. So yeah,
I agree.
beautiful future, man. Beautiful
Yep.
future.
Let me ask you about your view on this cycle. We talked about it, but let's talk numbers, views, because everyone wants to know, how long does this cycle last? Is this kind of, you know, weird Q1? How does this affect the cycle? What's the Bitcoin price? What are your views and on this cycle?
Yeah. So the word cycle, I think, is in and of itself a bit misleading. And we did have a 4-year cycle in crypto until now, which was elegantly proposed by Plan B. Even though he's a shyster himself, he was with his predictions, like, they don't make any sense. You can't predict the future, dude. And he was completely wrong so many frigging times, and people still like follow him like he's he's Jesus. But
Still,
the point is that he did stumble on something as far as, you know, the halving is concerned, and around the halving, and it always mysteriously lined up in Bitcoin's entire history. The halving cycle also lined up precisely with Fed printing. So the Fed would start printing just before the halving or just after the halving, and you'd see this like massive and it got to the point where it was difficult to discern. We've done extensive research in quantum economics about this. It became almost impossible to discern, is this because of the halving, or is it because the Fed was tightening and loosening in such a way at these precise moments across every 4 years. So with that, I can now tell you definitively that the halving no longer matters. And the reason I say that is because this last halving that we saw a year ago in April 20th, 2024, brought the Bitcoin emissions from $60 million a day to $30 million a day. Do you know what the daily trading volume on Bitcoin is?
No, honestly, no.
It's in the
Not
billions,
lately.
well into the
Yeah.
billions.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, like
The
yeah,
on-chain volumes are in the
yeah,
billions, never
yeah,
mind the exchange volumes and now the ETF volumes, which, you know, if you put them all together, we're talking about between 3 to 10, $20 billion a day on a busy day.
yeah.
So what is that 60 million down to 30 million having actually impact on the real supply of Bitcoin? Zero. Practically zero. It has an effect on miners, which is why, you know, in quantum economics,
Sure.
we're so focused on getting off grid and reducing our energy costs, because that's what's going to keep us profitable over the next 4 years,
Yeah.
as well as technology upgrades. But as far as the Bitcoin price, I just don't think that it has. And then to say, okay, now that we have a cycle that's tied to this, nah. The way that I'm looking at this right now is similar to the recovery from the 2008 financial crisis, right? There was a 2008, the world is ending, Chicken Little's out there balking, the sky is falling, 2009, they started printing money and they started like bringing it out of a hole, so to speak. 2011 was when the market was ready to, you know, start going again. And the and go, it did, and it went for many years, till this day even, without a significant bear market, you know, that lasted more than a year. So bull market, that's what people don't realize. Bull markets can last for 10, 20 years, even longer than that. And I'm you know, my chips are in. This bull run is going to last for 100 years. I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah, we'll have pullbacks along the way, but as long as we don't start reverting to, you know, modern monetary theory and excessive money printing again, which I hope they learned their lesson on this last time, I think we're good. And I think that the market can go back to being a mechanism for capturing value creation and giving people an opportunity to invest in things that are going to grow over time. And some of those things will do well, and some of those things will fail. But net, the financial markets are going to do what they're designed to do. And we've learned a lot of lessons throughout the crashes over the years. It's not to say there won't be another crash. I think there will be crashes here and there. But those crashes are going to be seen as opportunities, because something happened in 2008. You know, something happened to the world's understanding of financial assets. And when the whole world saw, what was the Big Short, that movie? And it was just explained in such a way that anybody can go, are you fucking serious? Like nobody did anything about this, and this was in plain view. And how did I not know about this? This was happening under my nose.
And no one went to jail.
And besides the fact that nobody went to jail, is that nobody figured it out. And now this is common knowledge. And now people understand the difference between a fiat currency and saving your money in a fiat currency, which is specifically designed as an ice cube to depreciate in value over time. They're not even trying to hide it. They call it inflation, and they have a target. They say, we want 2% inflation over a year. They're not trying to hide it. Versus an asset that is designed to go up in value over time. And I think that now that everybody understands these basics, we're in for a good ride. We're in for a very good ride.
Are you thinking any pullbacks for the rest of the year? Like, what's your view for the next, say, 6 to 18 months?
Yeah, there's going to be volatility, and you know, and this last pullback it made me laugh almost, because like people are like, the U.S. government isn't pushing the YOLO button and printing as much money as they can to buy Bitcoin. I'm perturbed by this. This is not what I was expecting at all. Like, what did you expect? Then Donald Trump to get in office and say, hey, Jay Powell, Set those printers to overdrive. We're gonna buy as much Bitcoin as we. Is that what you were expecting?
But you do know CT was expecting that. There's a portion of that they knew, they thought it was going to happen day one.
Yeah. That's just a mismatch of reality. I mean, what's
Yeah.
happened, what the pace of things that are happening so far, I mean, is superfluous. It's amazing. Like we've got the Bitcoin, the Stablecoin Act all ready to go. The U.S. dollar will be tokenized.
Yeah.
It's already happening. You're going to be able to trace a dollar to its point of origin just by looking at its on-chain presence. This dollar was printed by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's in the shit. You know what that means? No systemic risk anymore.
Yeah.
This Wells Fargo dollar was printed by Wells Fargo. I can now say, okay, Wells Fargo did something messed up and they ruined their balance sheet. Let's sell the Wells Fargo dollars and let's go buy some JP Morgan dollars, and there will be like a little bit of an exchange rate on those. But the systemic risk is gone. It's going to be a beautiful thing for the economy, and it's going to be a beautiful thing for global trade, where everything is now tokenized. And it's going to be a beautiful thing for fighting crime as well. And in general, I think it's just like that's step one, right? Step two is like, okay, make, and the people who are building in crypto, they've already jumped back with both feet into the US. You have no idea how much I'm hearing people get like, okay, let's incorporate as a Wyoming DAO company now because it's all good. Like, okay. And then the lawyer's like, hold on, okay, let's get some rules of the road first. That's coming. It's going to be here in a few months. That will come, and when it does come, it's going to come good. So let's see how this year plays out. Let's see, is there going to be a pullback by the end of it? It could be. There's going to be volatility, but when you're a builder, you're an entrepreneur, you learn to lean into those. You learn to lean into those and buy the dip when they happen.
Yep. I completely agree on everything. I think that, again, using the analogy or the idea of cycles for this cycle, I mean, I use it because everyone knows what a cycle is now, but I do think that the game has completely changed this in the last 12 to honestly 12 months. If Trump was not elected, the conversation we're having today is very different, right? I mean, the Gensler's probably still at the SEC, no regulatory clarity. This is very different. I think that the whole industry is changing, and I agree with a multi-year view. I see pullbacks, of course, but the type of player in this industry has never been seen before. You've never seen BlackRock and those and the big boys coming in with everything, right? With the sophistication they have, and of course market manipulation, which I think traditional crypto and Web3 native people don't know what that looks like when you have real market makers playing the markets like they do, and that's fine. But I think the space is maturing. It's a multi-year thing. I fully agree with you. Pullbacks, yes, but overall, this industry is going up only when you look at the daily, weekly, yearly. I'm very confident about this being a fundamental shift in the industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add, to mention before we wrap it up? We'll put all your links, anything you work on around this when we push the recording. But anything you'd like to conclude the show with?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me on. Visit QE.finance, explore there, put your email in the free newsletter. Check out the links that are on the site. Those are things that we're building. Reach out to me if you have any questions or if you want to do something together. I'm here for it.
Yep. No, it was great having you. Definitely like to have you in a few months once we see the evolution, like price wise and how everything plays out. I think we're very aligned, and this is the great thing with these shows is we can have completely different views, right? You could have said, hey, I think this is going to be a 5-year bear market, and that's fine. It says, I think we align on a lot of the things on where this industry is going. Pullbacks on the way, but yeah, I fully agree with the thesis too. It was great having you on. Thank you for the for joining the CoinRock Show, everyone. We'll have this nicely timestamped over the next few days, and reach out to Mati on Twitter and LinkedIn. And thanks, Mati, for being on. And wish everyone a great day. And yes, the bull is up only. Just be patient. There's gonna be pullbacks, but overall, I think it's a great time to be in this space. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value from this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. So subscribe now. We drop new episodes and videos several times a week featuring power players, market movers, and insiders from the financial world. And if you want access to deals and insights we only share privately, hit the links in the description and we'll see you on the next show.